Today, ragazzi, we push the furniture away to, like Katy Perry would say after a trip up in the stratosphere, make some space. We hang the disco ball that has been collecting dust in the attic for the past 3 decades, and if you have any capacity to do so, why not grow a little handlebar mustache? Because today we are going to talk about Italo Disco. At the beginning of the 1980s, while the disco genre was fading away in the US, it was still going strong in Europe, and more particularly in Munich, disco capital of Europe. To put into context, many American soldiers were posted in Germany at the time, and with them on their territory were also called in some important international musicians from all musical landscapes. It is in this nebula of talents that emerged the Munich sound, and one of its main protagonists was Giorgio Moroder, who composed in his iconic Musicland studios the beautifully haunting I Feel Love for Donna Summers. Moroder's use of electro instruments was the premise of what was to come. Now, back in Italy, DJs like Daniele Baldelli, Alan Sorrenti, Casco, Alexander Robotnik, La Bionda were experimenting with all sorts of new electronic instruments and showcased their talent in the Mega Discoteca, where they created a whole new experience for the partygoers. At the most famous one, Baia degli Angeli on the Adriatic coast, the DJs were thrown on the lift that went up and down the different dance floors. And that's how the art of being a DJ was born. The Italians did not invent disco music, but they adapted it to their likes and paved the way for artists like Daft Punk 20 years later. They were recognized for influencing major artists like Pet Shop Boys or New Order. And while Italo Disco was not a revolution by any means, it was the inevitable evolution of its American roots onto which new technologies were grafted. It has a futuristic vision, a marriage of cosmic and mechanical sounds, and romantic themes. Because of course, we're in Italy, and what would Italian music be without love? To accompany me today on this disco journey is one of my favorite Italian artists. His music is extraspaziale. Tested and approved by yours truly, his songs fit perfectly into your daily soundtrack. From travels to a little dance in the shower when no one is looking, to crying after a heartbreak, I can always count on his upbeat music to make me smile. This time traveler in the magazine Rocket called a godsend, come on, get off the couch, it's time to shake your ass and dance in the middle of the living room, is the very talented and molto simpatico Bruno Belissimo. DJ, singer, producer, bass player, Bruno has been pretty busy in the past almost 40 years. His story is very singular for an Italian artist. He spent most of his childhood in Toronto, Canada, and grew up in a creative atmosphere. There he built very strong musical foundations at the local church where he sang in the choir, but also at the Royal Conservatory of Music where he studied composition and contrabbasso. In his 20s, his family moves back to Italy, and this is when he starts to develop his talent for electro music and where he will meet the artists and the community that will give him the step up needed to make himself known in the industry. In the most recent years, Bruno has focused on developing his passion for disco music as a DJ and artist, but also as producer. In March 2023, his music label Polyamore is born. Since then, he's multiplied tours on his own, but also with a power trio band in which his twin brother, Bonito, plays as a drummer. He has signed artists like Mille Punti and Euro Nettuno, and has collaborated with renowned artists such as the 80s disco legend Alan Sorrenti, the electro house priestess White Mary, and the great Max Ruffalo. He has also accompanied Coes and Fraquintale on their 2024 tour as bass player. His latest album, released in 2023, Questo disco me lo comprerei, roughly translated,
I would buy this disc,
is the first one under his own label Polyamore. Papa Bellissimo can be proud, not only because his label positive and upbeat sound will raise your vibe so freaking high that any Monday morning blues/hangover can be extinguished in a few seconds, but it seals his legacy as the pope of a renewal of a genre that was thought forgotten and rearranged their alla bellissimo to become the new disco italiana. His marque de fabrique is threaded in Italian cultural references, vintage sound, strong bass line, and a dose of self-irony and colorful outfits. Welcome, benvenuto, Bruno Belissimo. Ciao Bruno, come stai?
So, wow.
Is it accurate?
Yeah, very accurate.
Good. Thanks for being
really
here.
Enjoyed that, really.
I'm so glad you're here. You're our very first guest on this podcast, which still doesn't have a name, but let's hope by the time we air it, it will come. Yeah. I'm so glad you're here to talk about the Italo Disco, which is not very well known, I would say, in the music sphere, on the mainstream, but it has a stamp mark, it has definitely an identity. So when we speak about disco, we think about US, what it would differentiate, secondo te, the Italo Disco from mainstream disco?
Well, Italo Disco, it's a name that, under the Italo Disco name, there's like a very different and a huge production of music during, the late 70s and the whole 80s, right? And then there was like the Italo Disco mainstream, which is something that I really enjoyed personally, but it was like huge in the charts back in the days, Plus, and also besides that, there was some producers and DJs who would play a more, they would say, obscure Italo Disco, or more indie, so more. Most of the time, it was like instrumental rather than with vocals. Because Italo Disco, as it's like they mostly used like very cheesy vocals, very melodic and cheesy vocals. I'm like, no, I don't like that, right? So like there's mainstream Italo Disco and obscure Italo Disco. I'm very into the more obscure
The obscure one, that's not a surprise.
I'm more into that. That it doesn't mean that it's not pop, but it's more, it's more interesting. Way more in terms of music. It's not just like cheesy and easy pop music, but it's just very. So
who would be like your favorite artist?
Well, there's not a favorite. I'm being a DJ is like I have many tracks that I would like. You mentioned in the great introduction that you did, Questo disco me lo comprerei, which is basically a cover that I did, and then I named my album out of it. But Questo disco me lo comprerei was a track by Beatrice. She made probably one or two tracks, not more.
That's true.
And the original was shit. Like seriously, it was very. And I wonder, like, can I make it better? Like, I'm no arrogance to like,
no offense to Beatrice.
No offense to Beatrice. And then, can I make it better? Because, like, Italo Disco doesn't have a great groove. It's more robotic, right? It's like, and then which is the cool part of it sometimes. But I'm very into the groovy thing of music, being a bass player and stuff. So I try to make it more groovy.
It's actually Beatrice's voice on it.
Yeah.
Okay, very cool.
I chopped that. Yeah, I used the own voice. I actually like for the copyrights. I contacted the original.
Yeah, of course. For legal purposes, we want to.
I didn't steal any.
Want to mention it.
Without permission.
It's funny because we think this genre is very in the past, but for a genre that is actually influenced a lot in the future, like we're talking about Daft Punk, Pet Shop Boys, New Order.
Everybody, pretty much.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people, like, and that's the link of our Italians and Italian music with the rest of the world. Like then we just like segregate in Italy because like we're gonna talk about this, but like it's hard for us just going abroad and bring our music abroad. But back in the days, we were just like the biggest. We would have the biggest artists, and then it's been a great influence for artists all over the world. That
absolutely.
sound, especially for the French music.
Yeah, absolutely, for the French touch.
Yeah.
Back in the day, so all these DJs were experimenting a lot, because there was all that new technology available. Do you think that now is still the case?
That's the big difference between who makes Italo Disco now and who would make it back in the days. Like back in this day, we have a new technology, and that would make them very excited to use the new technology and try to make a sound that would be new, because you have a new synthesizer and you want to use it, right?
Yeah.
Now you get the old synthesizer to try to emulate the sound of the past.
But do you think it's right? Do you think it's the right way forward?
No, I think everything. I mean, it's right. I do the same.
Yeah.
I do the same. That's why sometimes now, being a good Italo Disco producer, it's like very good of doing revival music. I don't want to say it in a bad way, because like it's very difficult. But it's like you want to produce. If you produce Italo Disco, you want to make it sound right. It was in the 80s.
Yeah.
And that's not easy now, because like we don't record anymore on tapes.
Exactly. The sound is not is much cleaner, isn't it?
It's completely
digital.
different. Like we have computers, it's easier and stuff. Like even if you use the electronic instruments that we use in the 80s, but still the way you record them, it's different. Now it's everything more detailed and stuff, So it's easy. Somebody it's great to do that.
Yeah.
Seriously, there are some records that you from this year or last year, they're like, wow, they sound like they was in the 80s. That stuff.
Yeah.
I'm not interested in that, actually. I mean, I'm more like I like to be more like a crossover between. I mean, I don't want to do the revival thing. I just call it Italo Disco because I'm doing disco in Italy, pretty much. But like, I really like that sound, but I wanna, try to mesh it up with, the sound. More contemporary sounds. Yeah, that's my idea.
So apart from, so we know Mudra, of course, is worldwide known, right? Mm-hmm. But which artists and producers do you consider as most influential from that era?
Well, that's difficult. Well, Mudra for sure. Patrick Coley, for sure, from New York. He was amazing. I have all the records of him. La Bionda.
Oh yeah.
Well, even Righeira, like
it's so classic. Vamos a la playa.
But the thing is, like, there are so many great records. I bought the record the other day, but I don't remember the name. Well, even like Beatrice's one, like, it's great. It's just genial. The Io questo disco me lo comprai. It's great. Or also something. Well, that came later, but like. He was very into Italo Disco. Raf, for example.
Yeah.
Like some tracks are just great.
Raf definitely made it across the frontiers. Like he was played.
That was mainstream.
It was mainstream, but it was singing in it, not in Italian. It was definitely singing in English. Yes.
At the beginning.
Yeah. And then, So, that's the other thing. Italo Disco, loads of the songs are actually not in Italian; they're in English, and I know that in France as well. I grew up with lots of singers singing, French singers singing in English to make themselves known across. It was the way out.
Now it's not something that's not possible anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, we're in Italy, and then if you want to try to do something with music, you should sing in Italian. But then in Italy, nobody cares about that. Like if you're not doing some specific kind of music that go to charts. So. So there are just a few bands, a few artists now that in Italy they sing in English. Yeah. Because it's not that now if you sing in English then you have a door open to Europe or
exactly.
No, it's not.
It's not guaranteed either.
No.
Have you sung in English? I'm trying to.
I did. Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out.
No. Wait. When I was much younger, with another band that I used to have. And now I'm going back. I'm in the next record that I'm doing in now, basically, and these days. And I want to go back with English. Not all the songs, but it's like, no boundaries. That's it. If English or Spanish, whatever. Yeah.
So I've seen this really great documentary about Italo Disco, and there's an all sociologic aspect to it. It's like Italian summer crystallized. Mm-hmm. On a song, or when you go to the mega discotecas like Baia degli Angeli, such a world to enter because people would party for like 48 hours.
Yeah,
that's something new, wasn't it?
I met Baldelli a few months ago, and he was telling me about like that time.
He was a resident there.
He was the
Resident
It's
DJ.
basically where he started his career. And then DJ was like, how can I say it? It was like he didn't have to choose at the beginning the records. The records would be owned by the discotheque. So the DJ had to just take them and play in a specific order, two fast and one slow record. That was the rule. And after a while he told me that he started to say, well, just pay a little bit more. I just want to be paid a little bit more, but I'm going to buy my records. And that's where he, through his own selection of music, he started to create, a specific genre.
Persona.
And then they call it cosmic or whatever, but it's like...
Yeah, that's that's what they were saying. This is the art of becoming a DJ. What I love about Disco Vibe, and I know you do too, because we talked about this before, is the fact that it's the happy music. It's that you go dance, you forget about your problems. And I think at the moment, tell me if I'm wrong, but this type of music is very well appreciated, given, we don't live in a perfect world at the moment, far from it. And I think that you can forget about your problems for a few hours. I think it's very cathartic.
Yeah, and that's what I like too. Yeah, it's like disco music can be very light in terms of the themes, maybe, or the themes of the lyrics and stuff.
Yeah.
But also sometimes it's like music is very happy.
Yeah.
The approach, very happy. We're very dancey, but maybe the lyric is dramatic, and that's something that I normally like. But it's like, it's all dramatic, but like then the music, grooving and stuff, and it's like it makes more easier to face them maybe a hard and rough moment. You know what I mean? And I really like that. I really like that.
Yeah. Before we move on to you, the future of Italo Disco. When I think about that, I think obviously about you and your music label, New Genia. There's Doveliana, which I adore, Macchina Boom Boom, really fun. So how do you see the future of Italo Disco? Is that something that's going to stay?
Yeah. Italo Disco will never disappear, of course. It's a cult music, so it's like say house music or jazz. It's the same thing. So It's something at some point. Sometimes it's gonna get a little bit more, trendy, more, fashionable or whatever, and then at some point it's gonna be a little bit down, and then it's gonna be always there. Now it's very interesting, I think.
At this point in the interview, Bruno and I took a little break to refill our glasses with wine. And I shared with him a little surprise. I played 2 of his songs to British people who had never listened to his music before. Then I asked them for their impressions and to give each song a score from 1 to 5. Based on those impressions, I asked Bruno to guess the title of the songs they were listening to.
Tu m'hai lanciato il malocchio, ma l'ho scacciato con un passo di danza.
I would play this on a Sunday when I'm cooking. Maybe you got some friends round, cracked open a bottle of wine, and you're just like making a meal. And this is kind of something that you'd be playing in the background, and everybody's just having a really good time.
I like this song. I think it's got a good beat to it. I like the kind of eclecticness of the different instruments. I can imagine it being quite a modern song.
I'd say semi-disco, like Nile Rodgers style sort of guitar, like his hit maker type thing at the back, in the background.
This song to me felt much more what I might expect to hear in like an Italian bar, or like that kind of background music you might hear if you're on holiday in Italy.
I like the beat and the rhythm, so it's got my shoulders moving. The language wise, I'm not too I don't mind it.
I'd listen to Bruno again, like in a bar, or a, dare I say it, a club. But I've not been near a club for years, so I'd give him a firm 4.
So
It's very difficult to say. You mentioned the guitar, so probably it's like something that I did kind of recently. It could be, or I don't know, or piacere, desiderio, maybe.
No,
No,
that's actually very recent.
very recent.
Yeah.
Malocchio. No.
Yeah, it was.
Malocchio.
It was.
Yeah, I love the guitar.
Yeah, I did not include it, but they had a hell of a time to pronounce it. Let's hear the second.
The second one.
Second one, and then let's discuss a little bit more.
Feels EDM, and it's very much EDM, that repetitive do, and then and it feels like it's building up. It's a very different vibe. This one is so it feels like a very different vibe to the previous song. This is more night out. You're out in a club or in a rave, and this will come on, and you're dancing to that. This one is very much 1 a.m. The DJ's on.
It sounds like loads of things. Obviously, it's more experimental than what I heard previously. Obviously, synth bass. The beat itself and the sort of the progression within the song maintains your interest, which had lots of stuff going on.
On a scale of 1 to 5, I would give this 3-4. I think the previous song that we listened to, I would give that, his previous song that we listened to, I would give that a 4, 5, a 4, strong 4. I did really like that. I really like that song too. I think I'll definitely add those to my like songs and add them to the rotation.
They said EDM as well. Like,
A bit EDM, yeah.
well, something more like disco, more clubby, right?
A little bit more clubby, yeah.
And now that's the moment that I don't even remember my songs no more. That's tough. Like, I have a song like maybe it's called Bellissimo. Maybe it's not. No,
No, it's not that one.
Maison Bellissimo no.
Not even, yeah, no. I can tell you it's part of the album on which the cover has a destroyed car.
Oh, I see. Okay. So it could be. I don't remember the songs in there. Tempi Moderni.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. Tempi Moderni, which
my
is
favorite.
Exactly,
Mine.
it's also my favorite.
So silly. Well, I like it. I liked it. Well, EDM is weird, but still.
Who knew? Bruno Belissimo is EDM.
EDM before EDM.
Pioneer.
Well, they didn't say it sounds like Daft Punk. That's good.
Yeah, they
well,
didn't
that's
say
good.
that.
I don't know if it's good, but
Why, it's good to be your own sound, right?
yeah.
But what's your impression? You flattered? You surprised?
Yeah. Well, it's like I was thinking. Now there's something now that you don't experience anymore, but it's like when back 10 years ago you would get reviews of the albums, right?
That's
you
true.
were waiting for like the magazine and read the review of somebody that you didn't even know, and then would write about your album, after all your efforts, right? And that was making me, pretty anxious, about it.
Of course. Of course.
So now it doesn't really happen anymore that you have a direct comment
Yeah.
of something that you did.
What?
Well, but it was weird, to get a feedback. Weird in a good way. It was strange, to, listen to a feedback, direct feedback from somebody. Now it's always detached, more less human. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's good. It happens only in studios. When you're there and it's somebody comes by and it's well, listen to this, and then they give you, well, you know what? Try to change this. That's good, whatever. That's a good, that's a good feedback always. But from when you finish the record and that's it, it's different.
You can't touch it anymore.
You
That's
can't
it.
touch it anymore, and it's this is done. Then I'm the first to I struggle to listen to my records after it.
Do you really?
Yeah, I want to change everything. Oh, not everything, but it's
Yeah.
I would never. I think that's quite normal. I think, and that's part of the growth of, my personal career. At some point, like, I also improve in producing, improve in playing my own instruments.
Yeah.
So listen to myself 10 years ago, was like, well, I would never have done that.
If you could describe the BB universe.
BB universe.
The BB universe.
Wow, that's a good question. I think it's very sincere. Like, I do what I think I'm able to do, and then it's the only thing I can do, pretty much. So, I mean, the sound that I make on computer, on my bass, the sound I'm able to do. Mm-hmm. I'm just not trying to pretend something that I'm not,
I love that.
It's just like,
it's very genuine.
Straightforward, genuine, yeah. So, and that's always been not a rule for me, because it's like it's always been very, natural.
Yeah.
And I try to make it, something interesting and something that other people could find something interesting to listen to, And then, as you said, like, I'm always trying to give a future of this kind of music without trying to emulate something that already happened. And to do so, I take what I like from the 80s, from life, what I like from this kind of music, and I manipulate it and I make it mine, and then I make it music everybody can enjoy.
I think I told you that story. I discovered you, and I put like massive air quote marks here, around discovered, at the Prima Estate Festival, which is a beautiful festival for any listeners who is interested in festival on the beach in Tuscany. I mean, it doesn't get better than that. And you were playing on the same night as Jamiroquai and Eugenia. And you were on your own on stage, on your own with your guitar and with that flamboyant outfit. We were dancing like there was no tomorrow. Do you know what I mean? And to me, that's Bruno Belissimo. Mm-hmm. That's the joy, this joy of being present.
Yeah, well, I don't, it seems like sometimes it seems maybe that I think a lot about what I do, but I don't think about anything. It's just, no, seriously. I'm not somebody who's like, okay, I'm just gonna do this because, in this way I'm gonna do that. It's just like, just very, let's do this. And then, for example, in that concert, changed the perception of myself, as an artist.
Really?
Yeah, like people. Well, I mean, it was a very important stage, and there basically was one of the most weighted concerts in the moment, like at Jamiroquai in Versilia and stuff. So I met so many people after that.
Game changer.
In the following years. Yeah. Like, oh, I saw you in Rome, in Naples. Oh, I saw you at the Prima Estate.
Yeah.
I discovered you there. So for me, it was very important.
The massive stage in Prima Estate. But I mean, I've been following all your stories for the past 2 years to know that you've been playing in many different venues. Mm-hmm. In Milan alone, you've played obviously in Bico, which is legendary. I've seen a video of you playing on a market in Naples.
Oh, yeah. Well, I was playing like records there.
What?
Like DJing. It's called 180 grammi. Mm-hmm. It was a very famous format of DJing. The DJs in the markets around Italy, especially in the south of Italy, it became very famous. The one, I don't remember what the DJs, maybe Jolly Mario, I don't remember, in the market of Ballarò in Palermo.
Okay.
So like it was a very good format, like playing records in a market, and they after a few years of stuff, they started again. And then they invited me. I was so happy because I used to follow that format on YouTube. And in the market of what's called La Pigna Secca in the center of Naples.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because you're playing there, and then I remember this old lady. It's like, well, how much for the lemons? I was like, yeah, seriously.
I love that. It's like the Italian version of Tiny Desk.
Yeah, somehow, like, but for DJs, like you super, like you're very free. Like, the only thing, like, it's mandatory to play vinyls, of course,
Yeah.
and then you bring your own vinyls. You play some music for the square, for the people, normal people who wants to, who goes to the market actually, and then there are other people who wants to see, like, the DJ set.
That sounds like the coolest
But it's
thing.
like in the, it's 1 p.m. in the central square of,
In the past year, I don't know how many concerts you've done, but there was a lot.
Yeah.
And you've also played outside Italy,
Mm-hmm.
Amsterdam, Berlin, Paris.
Paris.
It was sold out in Paris
Caverne.
at Le Bal Rital, à la Marborie. And do you play differently for the audience in Paris, in Berlin, in Amsterdam?
Yeah, what I noticed is going back to the what we mentioned before, like the classic sound of Italo Disco, being now bigger abroad. I'm able to play when I DJ. I'm saying when I DJ, like, I'm able to play even. I'm more free to play, like, old songs and something that I would never play in Italy, because in Italy normally you have to play something like more powerful, more, and because Italo Disco, like, that sound for me, it's not that something like.
So it wouldn't be, you would be playing songs from the 80s, not necessarily yours.
I mean, mine among all, like, when I DJ, I play my songs among other songs, of course.
Okay.
So in France or in Berlin or something, I feel like I'm more free to play songs that I could never play here.
Yeah.
Not because it's better or not because the Labrutepoque is better stuff, but, like, they're more into Italo Disco. Why it's Italo? So, like, even something that it happened in Paris, that I made a DJ set and I played tracks that I never played in Italy. Seriously.
Like what?
I remember this track that I wanted to play. It was like, what's Denise? Wait, I will recall it. Wait.
Earlier on you said this, when you're looking back into your life, you say, oh, I wish I didn't do that. But what are the moments in your career that you're very grateful for?
I remember that moment when, at some point, after my band, when I was younger, I was like, we were very into that band. Like, we were putting a lot of effort. And at some point, that band, just like, we stopped. And then I got into darker music, which wasn't disco, more like, how can I say, more experimental, let's say.
Yeah.
And at some point, when I was in Canada, I was like, I went back to disco music, and for me, it was like reborn. I was like, well, what I was doing, like, dark music with no rhythm, with no groove. This is me. And then I discovered it back. And I discovered with, like, a record that I feel very close to it, even if not very close to what I do. But it's like, it's a Norwegian artist. It's called Lindström.
You mentioned that to me before, yeah.
I just love
and
it.
You can't find the
And then I was
disc anywhere.
jogging in the street of Toronto, and I was like, wow, this is great. I'm just got to go back to do this stuff. So.
I think I remember you saying you went back to Canada to live there for 2 years, is that right?
Yeah, 3 years.
So,
recently, I was 26, 25, recently.
And then
10 years ago.
You tried to live without music,
Yeah,
as in not
yeah.
professionally, to see what you would be able to do without music.
Yeah, for the only time of my life, besides childhood.
And what did you do?
I used to work in a hostel.
Right.
Best time of my life.
Yeah.
The best time of my life, seriously. And then my plan was like, well, let's see how my life is without music, without job, whatever it is. And for not even a year, I think. Because then I brought to Canada some part of my studio, and then I just like tried to make some music, whatever, but with no plans.
Ethiopia is one of your first track, right?
Yeah.
Was that in Toronto?
That was in Toronto, and then my brother was on tour in US at the time with a band. He's a drummer, so he was on tour with them, and he would pass by. He was passing by Toronto. I invited home and was like, I just made this track. And he was like, well, just, that's great. Finally, you're making something more groovy again. That shitty music you were making.
That is you. Something that is you.
Yeah, I can recognize you. You should call it something about, Ethiopia, whatever. No.
For sure.
Yeah, very, very thoughtful. But that's the beginning of this new career then eventually. And then I went back to Italy, and the people I used to work with before living to Canada, I was like, well, why don't you make a record? And then I just made a record. The one with No Name and the guy with the ananas, the piña, whatever.
Yeah, love the covers. The covers, that's another thing.
Do you think it's me or somebody else?
I thought it was you based on the mustache. Was it you?
No.
It's not you,
me.
okay.
But many people thought it was me. But it was one of my best friends.
Oh well. It's a great.
He showed me
song.
that picture time before, and I remember it, and I was like, "Oh, can I use it for my?" Oh, sure.
So it's just to describe the photo, the album cover. So it's. Well, let's say you, Bruno, but it's not you. On the beach.
On a beach.
No t-shirts, and you very serious. You've got the sunnies, the tash. The tash is serving seriousness, like serious summer Italian summer, and then you've got the pina colada in your hand.
Yeah.
And that's the first cover. It's very poppy. I find it's very cool. In the covers, I think there's an aesthetic that is very researched. Mm-hmm. Like you said, Questo disco me lo comprerei is a reference as well at the old vinyls. That you would just write stuff on it. Yeah. And there's Maison Bellissimo, anche very suave, very.
I don't remember that. Wait. Oh yeah, good.
It's your portrait. It's you. And I know as well in your costumes, I'm a big fan of the video Malocchio because it's so mystic. So mystical. You've got that giant hat that I think is your girlfriend, Francesca.
Francesca.
Who's a stylist who found it somewhere in Sicily. And you're at the top of a cliff with that pyramid. Yeah. And it just fits the song so well.
She's totally my creative director, they would say in Milan. But
she
totally is.
You partner up with Alan Sorrenti, Cosmica. Beautiful. I mean, if that doesn't make you travel back in the 80s, I don't know what does. How did that come about?
Oh, well, it's been now 3 years that I play with Alan Sorrenti.
Oh, right. So it's not out of the blue like that.
No. Well, I mean, it's out of the blue the fact that we decided to make a song together. It's like it's not making new music. I mean, he made a full new album. Now it's like 4 or 5 years ago. Yeah. So after that record that he made, not with me, with a dear friend of mine, great producer, Cherry. So he started to perform again with a band, and I was in charge, me and my friends, to create the new band of Alan Sorrenti. And then, and that's the moment where we started to perform together, and I was part of the band, me and my brother and other people. And so we became friends pretty much because we performed, especially the first 2 years a lot. Yeah. And then we became friends, and it was like I started to write something because I then had the idea of making a song together. At some point, I asked him, and it's like, "Are you willing to do that?" And then at some point, we made it. Even the video and the pictures, I really like them.
Oh, the visual.
Yeah, the visual.
There's these two. You look like two aliens.
Beautiful
aliens in white.
Yeah, that's Francesca too, and but that's also Beatrice Vesprini. She, my friend, she's a friend of mine, and Francesca especially, and they work together often, and they are two talents, and so that was great.
took the touch of a woman.
Yeah, totally.
And speaking of women, what a surprise, White Mary. So for those who don't know White Mary, I actually don't know her before I listened to that track you did with her. Very experimental.
Yeah, well, she is.
She's that beautiful dark angel on stage. She has such presence, and she does electro, she sings, but with you, it's completely the opposite with what you did with Alan Sorrente.
Yeah, totally different. Yeah, it's more house because we had to find a match between my sound and her sound. In fact, it's a release, but its own, like it's not in my record or her record. This is like we just made a track together and released it. But I think it's the perfect match of our two songs. She's more electro, as you said, especially she's more housey.
Yeah. The sound is a little bit heavier than yours, and I think you guys found a really good equilibrium.
Yeah, I'm very happy with it. So.
Last one, I love Malocchio so much. Sorry, I need to go back to Malocchio. So tell us the story of Malocchio.
Oh yeah.
What does that mean? What's the Malocchio?
Francesca's gonna kill me. So I woke up like morning. I don't remember. Like it was like 4 or 5 years ago, and she was like, "Well, I have Malocchio." I was like, "What?" Yeah, I have Malocchio, and I also know who made the Malocchio to me.
So for the non-Italian listeners, can you explain what Malocchio is?
Is there a word for that?
Yeah, so if you translate, it would be the evil eye, but it's a curse. It's a curse.
It's a curse, yeah.
Yeah. And the Italians are very superstitious.
Yeah. It's like somebody sends you a curse and then you have a bad luck. And you feel it, especially you have something to the eyes or something, I mean, there's not the one way you can feel that you have Malocchio,
Yeah.
Maybe you're just like you go through a very unfortunate moment and then maybe you feel something. And then she woke up and was like, "Oh, I have Malocchio." No, not just she told me that she had Malocchio, but also she described the person who sent it to her.
But it's very south of Italy, this, because there's lots of beautiful traditions in the south. And I have friends from Calabria and Campania. They're all telling me, my grandma had the donno, the magic in her. There's always someone in the family who has that. And I think this is beautiful to thread it into this song, which has a very upbeat. I love this song, I have to say. I actually, I read tarot cards, and I brought my decks here. Really? If you wanted to have a quick 5 minutes.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Shall we?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Shuffling cards. That came up very quickly. 7 of Wands in reverse. The wands are all about creation, the life, the fire. You see this person is protecting herself from maybe critics, but she's like in a bubble and she's like, I'm not having this.
Okay.
So in reverse, I would say more, it gives you permission to let it go, not block those energies. It's meant to happen if there's any critics. Okay. Do not worry about those. You just need to let them go.
Okay.
7 is about, the number 7 is a bit, I wouldn't say negative. It's more like challenges. There's some, blocks on the way. There are conflicts. But don't let that stop you. It's meant to happen.
Okay.
Critics come and go.
Okay.
There we go.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Amazing. I expected this. Wow.
Now let's move on to Polyamore.
Oh, yeah.
How did it come about? Because you were self-producing before, but why creating a music label?
I just wanted to make, to enlarge, let's say, my vision on the music making and also enlarge the community of the people I work with, and actually to make it, more, to have like a roof under doing what I do. You know what I mean? Yeah. So So I wanted to create a home for the vision that I have of what means to make this kind of music, and also because I think it's something that I've always been very interested to, so of making a label. And it's something that it's a long time project, let's say, that it started a few years ago, 2 years ago. And for me, it's gonna, it's my future.
It's your legacy.
It's my legacy.
It's your legacy.
But, like after years that I do what I do, it's like, like confronting with other artists and, being able to say, you made a good song, you made a good record, let's release it together, and then let's participate throughout the process of making and releasing new music. It's something that I've been through many times.
So acting like a mentor.
Yeah, I'm not a mentor. I mean, I don't consider myself a mentor, of course, but it's like, I have a way that I feel like I could be helpful maybe for somebody
for sure
who wants to, embrace my vision. Of course, there are a lot of people who want to, it's not that we don't get along, but then we don't, share the same vision, which is totally fine, which is good. But this is giving me the chance of discovering new artists.
Yeah, so yeah.
New way of making music, people who they make music in a different way that I used to do, that I do. So it's something also that is enriching my, my knowledge of music
100%. 100%. Tell us about the artists you've signed. So how do you see the potential when you first hear the music? Is there something you're looking for?
Well, sometimes, for example, with you mentioned Mille Punti. Before opening the label, I contacted him. We worked together before, and I really liked his way to, his approach of making music. His drive.
Yeah, he's very disciplined. I think. Yeah,
and also, but and he's very disciplined. So it's like it's a very good artist to work with. Sometimes, in other cases, I just replied to emails that I got with demos, for example, Monte Carlo. Mm-hmm. Because I normally listen to everything, and the thing is, like, sometimes it's like, even if you get something good, maybe it's not the time of releasing that. It's like it's also it's not easy to be able to make a plan for everything that you want to do. So you have to focus on things because it's better to do a little bit less. This is, it's not something, how can I say that? It's like anachronistico. It's like now you have to do...
Anachronic,
like, it's like I prefer to do a little bit less, but better than, do many things in, not a good way, so...
Yeah, you've got now. So I wasn't sure how many artists you have now. Is it like 7?
Yeah, 7. Like the thing is, like Polyamore is a label, and what I want to do, the idea is like a label in between the world of club music, the music made for mostly maybe for DJs, and a label with, for pop music or mainstream. So I just want to make, because like normally labels in music are mostly, these two kind of labels are normally very detached and very, far away from each other. And I just want to make it a sort of a link, say like, if it's good music, we can make it good for the club, and we can make it good for people who just want to listen to it.
Give it the most freedom in
and then to make it more
artistic direction. Yeah, interesting. And the image of the artist, do you have an input on that? Like when Mille Punti or Monte Carlo or...
It depends.
Or your Nettuno come to you, do they have an idea already? I want to be like Eddie, he has this costume on stage, his persona.
For example, Eddie does everything by his own. So it's all like his idea.
Okay.
So like the costume and stuff, because it's already, he's an artist with already, he made records before, so he already has an identity.
Yeah.
Maybe other artists that I just signed and their debut. We try to build up the image of them together.
That makes total sense.
And we try to do also an artistic direction.
Yeah, no, that makes
if it's
complete
necessary.
sense.
Of course, we don't impose anything. Like we just say, like, let's do it together. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's wonderful. What do you think we should do in Italy to be able to cross the borders a bit easily? Is it just a link or is it something else?
No, I think we feel like we are the underdog, I think.
Yeah.
It's like in everything, not just in music. It's like if it comes from abroad, it's better.
Imposter syndrome.
That's my impression. I mean, that's the way, to me, it looks like that. Like if I don't know how to make some examples of this, but like I don't know. But also in music, it's like there are many festivals with many. I mean, it's good to bring international artists in Italy. It's always good to do. For
sure.
But there is always the feeling there's like, if it's American, British, German, whatever, like it's better just because it's not from here. You know?
So to finish up, really, that would be my last questions. If you would recommend any artist or songs, Italian, of course, to the listeners who have no idea what Italian music is, not only Italo Disco.
Well, Giorgio Poi, for sure.
Oh, fantastic, yeah.
Well, great artist, absolutely. And of course, Fra Quintale.
Yeah, because you have to say that.
No, I don't have to. But
I love him, obviously.
I have the fortune that I'm lucky enough to work with somebody that I really,
Oh, he's fantastic.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm a very fan of him, actually.
Yeah.
And I was thinking somebody more in my field of electronic music.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Fimiani.
Okay.
Fimiani. Biplano Fimiani.
Yeah, okay. That's lovely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bruno
It was a
Belissimo.
great pleasure.
Bruno Belissimo with one L, please.
Yeah.
Just one L. And it was a great pleasure to have you on the podcast.
Thank you.
You can find Bruno where? On Instagram?
On Instagram, absolutely, yeah. Instagram and on Spotify and Bandcamp.
And Bandcamp, yes. And all summer long Bruno will be touring. You can check out his dates on Instagram. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
It's been a great pleasure. Ciao.
Thank you. Ciao.
This is the end of our first episode of Italia Amplified. Thanks for listening. I hope you've enjoyed this perhaps first encounter with Italian music and that it stimulated your taste buds for some more discoveries. I'd like to thank, of course, our guest Bruno Belissimo for his trust and for giving us the opportunity to showcase his music on the podcast. Massive grazie del cuore to Federico, Pippo, Giorgio and the wonderful team at Labrutepoque for hosting us today. Labrutepoque is an iconic location and association in Milan where self-expression is manifested in many art forms, including disco music. Huge thanks to the very talented director and dear friend Michael Lasser for his technical expertise and support, and without whom this podcast would not exist. Thank you also to Caro Mudra, our photographer, art designer, creative director, and emotional support. This episode is dedicated in loving memory to the most gentleman of gentlemen, Mr. Artwright. Until next time, ciao ciao.